Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Judith Briles, and you are with another edition of the Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast. And I always love to shout out to my sponsors. So, besides myself, which I help sponsor it, but it's also AuthorU.org and the awesome book designers, Rebecca Finkel of FPGD.com and Nick Zellinger of NZGraphics.com. Both people have done oodles of my books, and in fact, I can share everyone. I finally finished my cookbook, and Rebecca is doing the finishing touches this, and it'll be up and available on Amazon. Oh, in about a week. How cool is that? All right, so back to the awesome podcast. You can see I guess I would say to my left as you're watching this is the amazing Patricia Raybon, and she is a Christie Award winner. She's reared right in my neck of the woods, not far from where I live in Denver, Colorado, where we have frigid weather right now, but a lot of sunshine and just weather that you can use in your books. I guess I can say that. She has a awesome relationship with Christ, and she's a newspaper journalist where she's turned her background and her inquisitiveness, her curiosity about eras in the Denver area into amazingly awesome best-selling novels. And we're going to get into the Annalise mystery series. So, which really opened up the window of the Ku Klux Klan here in Denver, where a lot of people still do not realize it was alive and very well for many, many years. So, with that said, Patricia's going to be with us. We're going to give you lots of ahas, insights about your writing. How do you create those series? How you can take things and run with it, and even some marketing for you fiction authors. That's what today is all about. I always like to start with the quote from my book, Snappy, Sassy, Salty Success for Authors. There's over 400 of my personal quotes. I've used this one before, and I think it fits in today. Don't do well what you have no business doing. Patricia has really understand what her field is. She's very myopic in how she writes and her development of her characters, and that's where we're going to go today. So, Patricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And wow, that's quite an introduction. I
There you
really
go.
appreciate those very kind words, Judith, and your friendship. My
Yeah,
husband
yeah,
asked me, whose podcast are you doing this morning? And I said, Judith's.
yeah.
So thank you for having me today. Happy to
Yeah,
be here.
since it started 7 years ago, we have had over 21 million downloads.
Wow.
So there, away we go. But with that, so we have a new year going on. You have a brand new book. We're going to kiss on it and talk about it. But what brought you to writing? What was your crossover from being this full-blown journalist that you were to being this savvy novelist that has really a really interesting protagonist in Anna Lee?
It has to do with not finding the story I wanted to read in the marketplace. And
Oh,
And we've
okay.
all heard that advice, right? Write the book that you
Absolutely.
write the
Absolutely.
book, write the book that you want to read. And
Mhm.
what has been frustrating for me, Judith, if I can start here, is is that I grew up Black in America. Can we start there? And have been frustrated by this interest in Black history and the truth about it, and the sort of pushback on it, and even in some quarters the denial of what has happened in our country. You mentioned the Ku Klux Klan. When I do book
Mhm.
signings, I did one up at Barnes and Noble store in Longmont, and a woman asked me what the series was about, and I said, this young African American theologian who here's the first
There you
book,
go. Yeah,
who
all that is secret.
comes home to Colorado to solve the murder of her estranged father during the Ku Klux Klan years, when the Klan ruled the state. And this woman said, the Klan wasn't in Colorado. And
Mhm.
so that a frustration about either not knowing about it or denying it led me, and my love for the mystery genre led me to try to put that all together in what turned out to be a book series. And here we are now, 3 books behind, up and published. And speaking of Barnes and Noble, they asked me to cut the ribbon at their newest store.
I know.
So I guess the point is if the author knows what their truth is and has the courage to put it on paper and and writes the book that they can't find anywhere else, then that starts to be enough of a combination of factors that get people noticing it. And I believe that's what happened with my series. You know, a young African American protagonist in Colorado, and right away that isn't something that people expect
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
in the 20s with the Klan. So here we go.
Who exactly? And I should mention to all of you, as an author, she's won a lot of awards, including she was inducted into the Colorado Authors Hall of Fame. Um, not
Thank
too
you.
long.
Thanks
Yeah.
to you. And you know who nominated me? Jerry Jenkins nominated
Yes,
me.
he did. Yep.
And
Yep.
it's incredible. I think of myself still as Bill and Nanny's daughter from Denver. So I the as you know, the book publishing world is global, and the
Mhm.
market is huge. But I don't see myself as a player. I just see myself doing the work that I'm supposed to do in my corner of the world. And if I do that, people find me. So we
Mhm.
can talk more about that later too. But
Mhm. Well, I always love to ask other writers, and I was asked that and says, what was the first book that you really fell in love with, and how old were you? And for me, I was 9 years old, and it was War and Peace,
oh my,
Tolstoy's.
at 9 years old,
9 years old, I read it. Yeah, and books fall open, and I fell in. So, what book did you open and fall into, and when was that?
well, as a young child, I didn't know you were going to ask me that question. But just the primary, the primary readers, those first and second grade
Mhm.
readers. And again, even then, Judith, I wasn't finding the stories that I knew were out there.
No,
And I
but those
think,
were so boring anyway.
well,
You know, a lot the ones in my age. I'm going back a long time ago.
we're in the same era.
Yeah.
But what I did love from an early age were mysteries. And I know, people always say Nancy Drew, but beyond Nancy, early on, I was making a list for myself yesterday. Remember the days of Columbo and um, Perry Mason and
Loved them.
Elliot Ness on The Untouchables, and Emma Peel in the British TV series The Avengers.
Hmm.
And then I have just proceeded to find fascination in stories that feature characters who are in hot pursuit of truth and justice. Because in my life, I wasn't experiencing that. When I would go, my parents were both late parents, are both from the South. My dad from Mississippi, my mom from North Carolina. And we would go to the South to visit during the summers. And there was Jim Crow. I mean, Judith, I was born in a segregated hospital. And
Wow. Whoa.
and people think, oh, that I did a talk one time at my church to the young people, the youth, and the little boy said, "You're that old?" Because in their in their mind, that was a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago.
Mhm.
And so we would go south and see, we would see the Jim Crow signs, whites only allowed, the Jim Crow beaches, Jim Crow parks, Jim Crow movie theaters. And so the mystery genre offered me characters who were in hot pursuit of truth about what's really happening in the world and justice for things when they're not right. So very early, I just really found
Yeah.
my place in that
I
world.
am I'm so glad that you remind people that Jim Crow wasn't so long ago. You
Oh,
know, some
yes.
people think, is that a liquor? No, it's it's but and it reminds me, I have hanging in my hallway when you come on. When I was 50 years old, I received priceless gift, and it came wrapped. A dear friend Nicole said my mother wanted you to have this, and we were having lunch in San Francisco, and she walked in with this big, big. I have one hand. I'm still in a cast here.
Uh,
Um, uh, um, uh, Package. I didn't know what it was. We unwrapped it, and it was an oil painting. It was an oil painting that the Nazis had confiscated when they came for her father, who was a doctor, and they
uh-huh.
murdered. Mhm.
Hmm.
Her mother survived. Nicole, the story of them survived when her mother threw her out of the train that was taking her off, and a nun caught her, a little Jewish baby, and
Wow.
raised her in a nunnery for 7 years until the mother got out and
Hmm.
came and claimed her daughter. And Nicole, one of the things Nicole said, you can, because this, I did not know this, the Nazis would often cover up with paint with another name of somebody else over the artist so no one would know who it was. And she
Uh,
said, you could have this taken off and find out who the artist is. But it's a still ice. I've always loved flowers. And I have chosen never to do that, to remind me that it wasn't so long ago, just as
yes.
you said. Um, and I don't know. I could have a masterpiece hanging in my hallway. I don't know,
Right.
but I love how it came to me and the story
Yes.
with it. Yeah.
Yes. So I love that story. And I don't think I've ever heard you talk about that. But yeah,
Oh
and
well.
so we don't, we don't have to look far for the stories that are waiting for us to tell.
Mhm.
And what's required though is courage, because I'm
Mhm.
a soft-spoken daughter of church people. I'm still a church girl, and so my personality is not confrontational, but this kind of writing requires that's kind of guts to get into it. And so and maybe that's the other reason I like the mystery genre. The lead character has to be somebody who's better than we are in our regular lives, somebody
Mhm.
who's willing to take on um, tough um, opponents
Mhm.
and shake things up. And so I had an advantage as a journalist by having a writing background. But as you know, writing fiction is a completely different exercise. And in
Totally.
order for readers to want to go on this journey with me through, not right now, through three books, I had to create a character who was going to be a lot tougher than me. But of course, what I didn't know is that as I required that of my character, here's the second book. As I
Okay.
require
Double
that
the
of my
lives. Yeah.
as I require that of my character, I give myself permission to be a little tougher myself.
I love you saying that
Yes,
because we have to. Okay.
right.
I think as authors, we need to develop sometimes a thicker skin
Yeah, oh gosh, yes.
Because you're going to get challenged. You will get challenged. You've been challenged.
Right. I have been. I and you personally know me, so I'm
Yeah.
not this big uh in on meeting me, I'm not this big tough, so kind of tough person. But what I had to understand is that I can turn from the negative and write for the people who are waiting for the next book. Because they're always, since I write about faith and race, I write at that intersection. I sort of invite people to, you know, uh, throw sticks and stones, and they do. But there's this whole other community of people who are saying, "I love this. When's the next book?"
Mhm.
So where am I going to put my attention? On the naysayers or the people who are waiting for the next story? And so
That's
my
right.
job is to keep turning them out.
So we now have three in the Annalise Spain series.
Yes.
And so was it when you start, let's talk about starting the series. So what was the epiphany that dropped in? Was this your knowledge about the Ku Klux Klan?
Well, I
That
had been reading about the Klan just in general because that history is so interesting. And I know, and you know this too, that in fiction, trouble makes a better story. And
always.
so I thought, and I also love historical fiction. So I grew up in Colorado. So I thought, okay, if I write a mystery, this genre I love, I can set it in in history at the time when there is this trouble. So that the stories aren't about the Klan, but my character is trying to solve these crimes in that atmosphere.
Mhm.
And so that trouble adds to the tension of the book. It's just a natural thing to do. It was for me anyway.
Mhm.
And then the other part of it is that it is set in the Christian world. And as I mentioned, I grew up on a pew. I used to say I was born on a pew, and then a woman said, "You were?" And I really wasn't, but I've spent so much time in the church. And so I knew, and I love clergy mysteries. The Father Brown
Mhm.
series, Grantchester series
I
about
love Grantchester.
a vicar who's a friend of a police detective, and they solve crimes together.
Mhm.
Um, and so I knew I wanted to write a clergy mystery, and my character is a young theologian. And that's the other thing. A lot of people are surprised that in the 20s she would be a college graduate as a
Mhm.
Black woman. People don't know about the Freedmen's Bureau, which
Yep.
helped set up a lot of colleges and universities for um, African Americans after slavery. People were hungry for to for learning, and
Mhm.
my mother, both my parents graduated from historically Black colleges. I have downstairs, Judith, my mother's diploma from the Virginia State College for Negroes. She, and so my character is operating in the 20s, but those schools were existed. And
Absolutely.
and so her degree is in theology, but she has a lot of questions about God. If God, if you are so good, why is this trouble so bad? And so she's asking, there's a lot of spiritual searching in the book. She's asking that question. And then her love interest is a complicated young Black pastor who served in World War I when the U.S. Army um, didn't honor Black soldiers. They had well, even in World War II
That's right.
there was uh, in the Red Cross had separate blood banks for Black people and white people. The blood's the same, the process, all of that's the same. That's how segregated our world has been. And so I can just be angry about that, or I can use it as tension in a story. And then when you add in the faith element, I find it adds to the richness of the story, because she's asking questions about this faith that she's supposed to have, and while she's trying to find out who did the crime and why.
So what you do is you're delivering layers of conflict
Yes.
of various degrees, which is really important. Talk about the just the series. I've always told authors, if you're going to be writing, and I'm writing historical fiction now.
Yes.
And I loved hearing what you say, because we have a kick butt female protagonist
Uh-huh.
on there. But she wants to always do the right thing. But she is gutsy. Oh my gosh, she has become gutsy. She was
Uh-huh.
forced into becoming gutsy because of circumstances. And we're just finishing book 3, and I've told authors, if you're really going to write fiction, you need to think beyond your book 1,
That's right.
because my experience is that fiction readers like to know that you're not a one book pony, that
Right.
that there is more coming.
And if I made a mistake, it was not to think that way at the beginning.
Oh.
My question was, gee, is my agent going to be able to sell this one book? Well, he sold it very quickly, and then the publishing house, in the same breath, turned around and said, can you turn this into a series? Because fiction readers and mystery readers in particular love the series. They want to know another book is coming. They invest in the characters, and they want to spend time with the character. I had not done that homework for this,
Mm.
and so I had to sit myself down and say, wait a minute, where could this go? And so that's certainly probably the number one tip for authors wanting to write a series, is to find out what your series is. Who's your character, your protagonist? What is their flaw? What's the
Hmm.
flaw they're going to be struggling with throughout the series to keep
Hmm.
people coming back to it? We're
Hmm.
watching a new series on TV called Will Trent.
I love Will Trent.
Okay, so Will Trent grew up in a horrible foster orphanage situation.
Oh yeah, he was
Guess
pulled
what?
from a garbage dump.
Pulled from a garbage drum, a
Yeah,
trash can,
yeah.
and is dyslexic, so he can not read, and he doesn't want people to know that he can't read, but he can read a crime scene like a book. So
Mm.
if he solved that problem in this episode 1, there wouldn't be a reason to come back time after time and see how he navigates that flaw as he attempts to solve the next crime. So those are, the questions that the author wants to ask herself as she or he is figuring out their series, and start
Yeah.
and read series and see how successful series are.
How they flow. Yes.
Read
And,
and
and they,
watch. Yes.
yeah. And the other thing is that I think is so smart to do is you write, even if it's going to change a little bit, create a chapter or 2 of the next book and throw it in to the current book, so they know, this is what's coming.
There's more coming.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and my experience in working with authors, in my book shepherd hat, that I have another author who has a 22-year CIA background. And we just finished. We are just loading his 3rd book today up, so people can find it. But his writing has gotten better with each one. There's
Yeah.
just action galore. We're talking this is action thriller stuff, on that too. I mean, to one point I said, and just how many people have you killed? I just really want to know.
Right.
But but they're there, and already I'm seeing when people start thinking I have a series, they may have thought it was a 3-book series or whatever. You're at 3 book. I know you've got 4 book. You're working on number 4 already, right? That right?
I'll tell you. Actually, I'm under contract, Judith, for a
Yep.
World War II spy novel set at a Black finishing school in North Carolina. So that revision is due May 1st. And then I'm hoping
Is that a new series starting? Will that
it's
be a new?
not it's a standalone because I wanted to try a standalone. And I told my editor what I've discovered is that a standalone really has to stand alone. It has to be really strong book.
Yeah.
So it's taking me through my paces, but I'm learning a lot by writing it. But I'm hoping to return then to book 4 of the Annalise Spain series.
Well, how cool is that? All right. So tell us about well, let's talk about marketing a little bit because you're good at marketing. I've been in bookstores with you. We've shared tables together, and
Many
that
times.
yes, and that I'm always amazed that I'm actually going to do a podcast where I'll go alone with it on how do you work with bookstores and how do you work with unknown people to turn them into fans and into buyers and that kind of thing. And there are things you need to do on that. You're very good. You are always present in a bookstore. As soon as you walk in and you're set up, you're ready to go to interact with whoever approaches you.
Well, I have learned a lot watching you too, as well. And so I try to zero down on the customer who's looking for my kind of book. So when I'm, they set the table up at the front of the Barnes and Noble or whatever bookstore.
Wherever they put us. Yep.
When somebody approaches, my question is, do you like mysteries? And a lot of people do. And if they say, I love mysteries, and then can I tell you about mine? So I
That's
have
exactly.
a one sentence summary on each one. I mean, it's really quick. So the first one is,
Great. Give us your summary for each one. Hold each book up. I've just approached you in a table. I love mysteries. What's your next line?
Well, I ask you, can I tell you about mine? You say yes.
Yeah.
It's about a young Black theologian who comes home to Colorado to solve the murder of her estranged father during the Ku Klux Klan years. And when I say the estranged, no. Let me correct that. I say it's a Colorado history mystery.
Love that.
Set in the state during the Ku Klux Klan years. So the person standing there still with me. And my young protagonist is an African-American theologian who comes home to Colorado to solve the murder of her estranged father. So I have said something about the era. I have conveyed conflict, and I've said something relational. So it's about her trying to solve the murder, not just any old murder, but the murder of her estranged father. And people just, it's like they can't not look at it. And they say, oh, wow, that sounds interesting. They pick it up. Then once they pick it up, or maybe they won't, I'll say, hey, why don't you take a look at it? And they'll pick it up, and start reading. And then they'll say, I think I'll take this. And that's like, I've said like 2 sentences. So Double the Lies is, my protagonist is solving the murder of a trick pilot. And, but then she has to figure out the question that she has about her own life at that time. Or I'd say something like that for that book. So it's a murder about a trick pilot. People are, interested in that. And then in Truth Be Told, a young lady has been found dead, and it's a garden mystery. And the young lady has been found dead in a potting shed. And my protagonist is determined to find out who did it and why.
Mhm.
And Judith, at this point, I will have people say, I'm going to take all three.
Mhm.
And so
That,
keeping the summary short, presenting in it a the conflict, the
mhm.
relational issues at hand and at stake, just seems to get people interested.
Mhm. I think that, or a lot of times people say, I'd like to start with book one. Where will Barnes and Noble have, or wherever your book, will they have your other books, or can I get them online? I think that's always important,
And so what
to
I
have.
say,
Yeah.
is, let's say, because when I'm at the stores, you're right, book one always sells out first. So let's say
Yes.
it's um, midday and the only thing left is Truth Be Told, or the other one. And I'll say the first one is online, but they read as standalones.
Mm-hmm.
And that you can start the series any place. And
Mm-hmm.
and I also tell them that the one thread throughout all the books is my character's search for her missing mother. And so there's things we can think about while we're creating the series, but things that readers want to know too that will help them say, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if there's only book three on the table, they'll say, oh, okay. They feel like, okay, I can still buy book three. And yes, you can get book one online. And then I can talk about all the formats. There's an audio version, there's and so every, it's as authors, it's if we start thinking about what the reader is looking for,
Mm-hmm.
then those are the things that we are talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not buy my book, It's I want to know what is the reader looking for. They're
Mm-hmm.
looking for a mystery. I want to show them why this is a good choice, and and then all the formats that are available. If there's only one title on the table, you can read each as a standalone, and in a series, each book should be written largely as a standalone. For that
Right.
reason, it's its own mystery. So I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same protagonist and they're all in Colorado, but it's a different mystery.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
how you start the day with 50 or 60 books on the table, and in a few hours they're sold.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched you do this, and we've
Mm-hmm.
done this together.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, what one of the things, okay, well, I did a book club the other day, and they asked me, because we're just finishing book three right now, and that they do stand alone. They can stand alone, but the characters carry through.
Yes.
So we always have to little, rewrap who's who type of thing. And as I said, and we do whack the bad people every once in a while. I've gotten
And
good at whacking. Um, but I think that they asked me, do you have the same characters in book two? Most of the same characters do come back, only
yes.
they're older and they're wiser. I mean, they're growing. We have a family growing up here that they're
Oh,
watching.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, but they stand alone.
You make a
Um,
very good point. Readers do love the protagonist. People have said to me, "Oh, I wish Annalise Bing was real. I'd love to hang out with her." But
mhm.
so is the coterie of people around her
Yes.
have become beloved to readers too.
Mhm.
So they're looking for that whole group of uh, friendship group that she has to.
Well, let's talk about the fans, because you're talking about super fans here. That
Yes.
you're developing that fan base. So, and you have, and I've got a reader circle. You've got you do a really great job uh, like offering your fans goodies and keeping them engaged. I mean, I don't know how much traffic you get. I have no idea, but how did that all evolve?
I um, have used video from the beginning,
Hmm.
and I wasn't sure even what I was doing. And at this point, can I share my screen?
Sure.
I let's see,
There you go. We're there.
we're
We
there.
see all that is secret.
Okay, I was trying to. Oh, here we go. Um, I had heard that video promos just get more views than this. This is a static image, but if I put it on Canva and just use very basic Canva uh, little doodads,
Tools.
I can
Yeah,
move. I
tools.
can move the. You can see the type moving, for example.
Hmm. Yep.
Well, that the social media platforms consider that a video, and so if it's just a static image, I might get 50 or 100 people saying, "Oh, how cool!" But if I create a video, this is actually a book trailer. I haven't done. I'm sorry you can't hear the audio, but this is
It's
just the
okay.
first few seconds of that.
And I'm assuming the audio is what the words are. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The audio would be the words murder, you know.
Well, and there's music behind it. And so
Yes.
all
And
of this is just created on oops, created on Canva. And
mhm.
so when I started out, let me go back. What I said on this one was I used the words, oh, there it is, that Sherlock Holmes always needed a praying sister. So the thing that I like about creating video, Judith, is it really requires me to think about what am I trying to say to people. And so I used the Sherlock Holmes name, and of course, iconic um, detective, right? People are going to, that's going to draw people in anyway.
Right.
And then I used a phrase that in Black culture people understand. I'm not talking about a sibling, but a sister is just another Black woman. And so I say here Sherlock Holmes, and I use the word praying because it's set in the faith world. So these are like signals to somebody who might see this. And it really, this was the days when Facebook allowed you to target people, your audience. And so it was very, very effective. This is some of my early video, and it's just animated type on and animated
Mhm.
images on Canva that I created.
Mhm.
Let me move to the next one. And then for the third one, truth be told, I I decided to do really quick. I think this video may be
Yeah.
under
I love this look.
it may be under 10 seconds. So I mean that's really really short.
Short. Yes, make them
And
short, people.
yeah,
Yeah.
make it short. So and that's it. I mean this video got thousands of views on on Instagram and on Facebook, LinkedIn, all of them. And I used some really dramatic music in the background. Again, all this created on Canva. And for somebody who does out to know figure out how to do this, just Google how do I create a book promo on Canva, and you can watch a lot of videos that show you how to do that. Oops, just one second. And then here's another one that I did. It's also about 7 or 8 seconds. And they're so fast that they almost require the viewer to play them 2 or 3 times.
I know.
And so, because one of the women who was on my launch team, she said, "Wow, that video goes so fast." But that's the point. And so these images beyond the book cover, I created with AI on Canva. So I just put in 1920s blue sedan moving fast, and this is the image I got. And then if I animate the image in Canva, then it looks like the car is moving too. And same with the girl. I put in pretty black pretty black detective in 1920s. And so, this is what AI gives me in about 5 seconds, right? And so I don't use AI to write, but I have used AI for these
marketing
images that I've used in my promos. Same with the Truth Be Told was got a really nice mention in the New York Times.
I read it.
And so I could have just created a static image, right? But instead, I created this one that's on Canva so that the image and the New York Times page are moving. And I selected, and again, I'm sorry you can't hear this very dramatic music, but it's like 4 seconds. And then it repeats, and it's on repeat. So, and I do that too this was a book sale. My publisher had an ebook sale. The book was, I think it was $2.99 or something. Again, I could have done a very static, promo, but I did this.
So your publisher marketing team is not doing this. You are doing it.
Right. I'm doing it. So, and part of that is because I enjoy doing it. When we finish today, I have to create one for a winter fiction sale that my publisher has on right now. And so it's just a fun thing for me to do. And Canva makes it really fun. It's very affordable for people, probably
absolutely
who's watching this knows about Canva, but it's just fun for me to do. And I invest in Canva Pro, which is only about $12 a month. And I probably use Canva every day for something.
Yeah, I think it's, and the other one that I use, I want all of you to be aware of, is called bookbrush.com.
Oh,
what's it called? Bookbrush, BOOKBRUSH.com. It's a site that a platform to develop just for authors. And if you use my name, like Judith Briles 15, they have a free version which has a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you decide to go up, if you just put Judith Briles 15, they'll discount it 15%. I get 0 for it. I'm just giving it to you. You can discount. They have awesome tools in there. So I would encourage, much more than Canva. I would encourage you to play. We play with both.
Yeah. Yes, thanks. I think an author can decide, oh, I'm not going to do that. Or you can say, I'm going to give my book the best I can give it. I'm not John Grisham, but I worked with my very first detective book came out, I worked with a launch team manager. And she said to me, the best thing you can do for your book is believe in it, like nobody's business. And give it every advantage you can. And so when Judith Briles invites you to be on her podcast, you say yes, and you come prepared and with examples, or if Barnes and Noble or if ABC bookstore, whatever it is, invites you, you say yes, and so the that extra, added book love and attention that we give this, it takes a lot to write a book. It takes a lot to write a 300-400 page book. And so she said, if give it your best, and people will see that and pay attention, and you'll find your book gaining traction. And that was the best advice that I got. And when I started thinking about marketing. So I know some authors say, oh, publishers should do more and blah, blah, blah. That's a whole other conversation. That would waste my time.
Yeah, it's another era. I came from the era, I was a well-kept author when I was with New York. I was really well kept. I had escorts that took me,
Yes.
but when I created my own publishing imprint and took over, which then developed another 30 plus books, that's when my sales took off because I had to do it.
Yes.
And get involved and find out, and it's the connection, and give your best is right. It is frustrating to me when that so many authors are waiting for the phone to ring, that they don't understand that they have to reach out.
And
That
do the work.
I love being in a Barnes and Noble store. I have fun. I'm there for the day. I'm gonna do that. We meet wonderful new people.
Yes.
It's
Right.
and
They're there because they want to buy a book. That's why they're there.
exactly. And I was just in a bookstore this last weekend. I was in Southlands, Patricia. It was it was minus temperatures. I mean, when I
Yes.
saw a couple of guys come in with shorts on, I'm going, oh my God, oh my God. But we
Colorado.
had but the bookstore was busy,
Packed.
busy.
Yes.
And that's where, so you want to go where the buyers are, people, all of
Right.
you.
Right.
And yeah, you may not make a huge amount of money with the bookstore, but you're going to get so much more.
Right.
And you never know. And that you may get book clubs saying we would love to have you come. They have to buy the books to come, or they may buy them from you. I mean,
Right.
it works both ways.
The other great advice that I got, and I hope it's okay to say it because it actually comes out of the Bible, but I'm in that faith world.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mention it because one of the problems that an author can have is author envy, right?
Oh yes. Oh
And
yes.
and it's a real thing because some authors are million seller authors, and then and so that used to be such a distraction for me. And one day I saw this. I don't know why I stumbled on it, but the reference is the book of Galatians, chapter 6, verse 2. And it basically says, yeah, but pay careful attention to your own work. Then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done. And you won't have to compare yourself to anybody else. And once I said, yes, I know these million, you and I personally know million seller authors.
Yes.
And that's the nature of this business. They're just, those top tier people. And then a lot of us are mid-list authors, however you want to describe it. But if I give careful attention to my own work, then I start to give it the best, and create these promo videos and just crazy stuff. But give it my best. Then I start to see
Mhm.
what I'm looking for, and that is attention on my books.
And pat yourself on the back. When I finished, it's the last book I wrote for how to be a successful author, from how to create the speech, how to avoid mistakes, how to do
Yeah.
this, that. And it was The Author's Walk, and it's my shortest book. And, when I was done and I went through and looked at it, it's a very different book, um, in that series. And I said, dang, if I had only had this book when I first started, if
Yes.
I'd only had this book,
Yes.
um, it
Yeah.
would,
Would have
and,
made all the difference. I think about
oh,
Avi, the children's author Avi,
yep,
who's a
yep.
friend of yours,
Hmm.
um, and through you, Judith, I've met a lot of just highly successful authors like that. But what I've learned from those people is that they're doing these things that you talk about in your book on being an author, and that I just mentioned. Um, they are giving, not just writing the book, but then giving as much energy and attention to the marketing of it.
Which is critical for all of
Yes.
you. You can write the best book in your genre that it ever lists, but if no one knows about it, who's to blame here?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
what you're going to do. So, Patricia, we have like maybe 10 minutes. Um,
Okay.
I would love to can you I don't want to leave your fan base because you do some awesome things. Would you really just talk about a couple of things that you do, and then let's talk about some of the mistakes, and then what's next? Okay,
Okay.
what's next? All right, so we already know that we have a World War II book coming, right?
Yeah.
All
Yes.
right.
So, um, and that um, is related to my fan base. And the best thing about this whole journey, Judith, is figuring out my audience, my core audience.
Sure.
And to my surprise, um, unlike my nonfiction writing, my core audience for my books are women,
Mhm.
and I needed to know that women of a certain age,
Mhm.
who also have some kind of faith profile. Maybe they um, have left the church. Maybe they got angry at the church, or or at God. But they're not um, outside the realm of sort of faith. Faith matters, but more than importantly, they are older. They're women. They're my age. And
Mhm.
so I have loved getting in, uh, spending time with my audience. When people invite me to do a Zoom call with their book club in, Connecticut or Mississippi, wherever it is, as soon as the call starts and everybody comes on the screen, I see a lot of people with white hair and glasses. Under this wig, I've got white hair too, and they're my readers. I can see them in the bookstores. My husband will say, "Oh, talk to that person," and it may be somebody who looks to be 18 or 19, and I often say, that's really not my reader. Um, but I can. It's almost as if I can see my reader coming in the door. I know them, and I've really come to respect them highly. They, like me, grew up in an era where there was things in the world were out of order socially, and civil rights and all of that was part of trying to get it fixed. Whether those readers are black, white, people of color, or otherwise, they get it, and they get why the story might be one that they would be interested in. So for other authors, the effort that it takes to identify your core audience, yes, they're going to be. I have men readers and um, a
But the core is women
who,
over 50, who have a faith integrated, whether they are embracing it or they're resisting it, but some part it's part of their life.
And they
That's
have, I shouldn't say this, and they have money to spend.
and they can buy a book. They think nothing of buying it. So it's $20, no big deal, or
And so I had thought that, oh, I want young readers. But you know what, Judith?
no, not
I
your
do,
audience.
I have, that's what, but sometimes like a young man was here doing some work in our house the other day. And before he left, I asked him, I said, do you like mysteries? And he said, no, but my mother-in-law. And see, that's what people will also say in the bookstore. Oh, but my mother-in-law or my grandmother would
Exactly.
love this.
Well, let's get her a copy. Can I put her name in it for
There
you?
you
That's
go.
what I say.
So
Yep.
it's been a great gift to know my audience and honor them. And I think people feel that. So, and I think it adds to the invitations to book clubs and, you know, in person and online.
Mhm. And I think that one of the things we don't do, which is on my to-do list for this year in bookstores, to think is really to ask, are you a member of a book club? You know, and let them know that you would love
To meet with them.
um to meet with them. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, and I tell people if you're in the local area, if it works out, I'll come in person, or
Yeah.
we can simply do it on Zoom.
Right.
Yeah.
So um, I have to kind of laugh because I am, as you know, because you know me, more introverted than anything. But this work requires me to step out of that
Hmm.
to do the work of book support. And but what I've discovered is that I do enjoy it, and I'm grateful for it. You know, I didn't mention that I have a writing client. I write devotional content for a ministry called Our Daily Bread. And I thought, how am I going to write devotionals for Our Daily Bread and write murder mysteries? But what I've discovered is that a lot of people will read a devotional that I've written for this. Our Daily Bread is a daily devotional. And they'll like the devotional and then look me up online and then say, oh, she writes murder mysteries. And
Exactly.
so I worried at first that there would be conflict, but it's turned out that
It's it's not a problem.
it's not a problem.
Right. All right. So last question. Your website is
Patricia,
Patricia Raybon,
no,
RABON.com,
no,
everybody. No, it's
wrong.
not.
RAYBON
RAY. I'm sorry. RAYBON. All right. So
.com.
Patricia, yeah, patriciaraybon.com. And most bookstores have her books, or they can get them in. Just ask them to get them for you and you'll go pick it up.
Yes.
Um, where else should we send them?
Well, that's the main place. I do post on Facebook, LinkedIn,
Mhm.
now X, used to be Twitter, and Threads, and you know those standard places. But the best way to keep up with me is to sign up for my monthly-ish author news. And
From her website, the
right,
Patricia Raybon,
Raybon.
RAYBON.com. So go sign up. So Patricia, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it so much. You have been such a gift to me in
Oh,
more
thank
ways
you.
than I can count. I've so
Oh,
enjoyed being in your circle. So thank you,
ah,
Jude, for having
well,
me.
I'm glad to be in yours. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week for another really fun episode. And I will be going solo where I'm going to be talking about how to get into bookstores, how to work in bookstores, how to actually sell books. So when Patricia said, so we have 40, we have 50, 60, our goal is to sell those books. That is our goal. And we will do the best we can to make that happen and have a good experience for everyone. I think that's what we're after. So
Right.
thanks to Nick Zellinger, our sponsor at nzgraphics.com, and Rebecca Finkel at fpgd.com. We'll see you next week.
Bye bye.